Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm founder and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us on this episode, as well as the over 180 episodes, and we're going to be hitting 300 total by the end of 2025. If you can, give us a thumbs up, like, share, follow Voices for Voices or on all major social media platforms. And we have that goal of helping 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. So any help you can do, appreciate that. It doesn't cost anything. And thank you for the support. So we're only going to be able to do one episode, so I cut the intro a little bit shorter. So who we have on today's show is David and Amanda Solomon. We had them as guests last year. And David, of course, has just powerful information about what's going on in his life, his wife, and their lives. And then as we're finding just as a nation, the United States, and how trafficking is really, it's really broadening out from, coming, I'll say, like out of the dark. Now it's into the light. So David and Amanda, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And then just for our viewers and our listeners, we're not going to be putting the photos of David and Amanda for security purposes. So that's wanted to just cover that. Okay, David, do you want to jump in to what's happening? And
Yeah, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a survivor of human trafficking. I've been an advocate in the Hollywood and writing world for it. Um, and I've spoken very bluntly on social media platforms about it. Um, and this is kind of an update of what's going on in our life because a lot of people have been questioning that. Um, we had an event take place, what was it, honey, 6 months ago? Yeah. 6 months ago. And we kind of wanted to address it for everyone.
please.
Um, I'm going to put a trigger warning that this is going to target human trafficking. Um, so it all began when I got back into the writing world of Christian fantasy. For those of you who don't know, um, I stated that one of the people that trafficked me, his name was Brian Davis. He's a Christian fantasy author. And he had a strong relationship with a group called Realm Makers, which is a Christian fantasy writing app for children, teens, and adults. Um, they now are the biggest voice in Christianity for fiction, TV, or media. And the reason I felt this needed to be done is so many of my good writing friends are being gone after right now um, because of this group. So we joined this group, not knowing Mr. Davis was tied to it to get our careers back going and trying to be a light for the world and get some good stuff out.
Yeah.
Um, I came into criticism when I went to the leader, Scott Miner, uh, when I learned that Brian Davis was messaging children on the app. The app's like Facebook for writers. Um, in July, it's going to be the biggest social media platform for Christians. They're estimating probably about 10 to 20,000 people added per day.
Wow.
So it's going to be pretty big. Um, Scott Miner learned who I was and basically crucified my wife, saying, well, I want the police report number, and then I also want the National Human Trafficking number of your case because I've heard about you from Brian Davis
Mm.
and I want to know all the facts. So you either send that to me or I'm going to destroy your career forever.
Oh,
So me and Amanda decided we had nothing to lose because it's my career, all my works that I've done. And so, hey, I gave him the case number. And I was an honest person. He was not. Um, and instead of being an honest person, he did the opposite and started a hate group in the shadows. And he invited four individuals. We're not going to name two of those because those two have been put in danger.
okay.
But I am going to name the second individual, Sophia Hansen, who is a Christian fantasy author. And although I'm not coming out here and bluntly saying she's a human trafficker, I do have evidence
Mm-hmm.
that says otherwise um, from many individuals now that have come forward. And this hate group was created to spread lies about me and Amanda through social media, through all means. It was done in the shadows of the Christian church, if you will. Different pastors had their say in the group, different writers that have known me for years. And then there were letters that were handed out to anyone who took my side uh, that I was a trafficked victim and that me and my wife took a stand and said people like Brian Davis cannot message kids
Yeah.
on this app about porn, about sex. It should not be allowed on a Christian app. And we took a stand and we got ridiculed, and basically anyone that believed us got letters in the mail and they got threatened, and many writers lost their careers. So you won't hear a lot of good writers right now because their careers are destroyed
Oh,
and they will never have those careers again. One person I wanted to point out that my wife and I learned was a man named Von Oman, one of the leaders of realm makers. Von Oman marries children as old as 8 years old to 11, and he runs a children's retreat, which is sponsored by realm makers. Um, and then I wanted parents to be really aware because this is coming up in July in St. Louis. Um, no, they moved it. That's right, to Minnesota. Uh, I think it's what, Great Falls, I think. Something like that, where their big conference, they're partnering with all these major news networks, and Scott Miner, when you join Realm, gets a percentage of what you are. So he owns you.
uh,
And so this needs to be talked about
yeah.
because he's basically going to run.
The questions when you join Realm.
Yeah, go ahead, honey.
When you go to join Realm, like Facebook, you get if you join a group on Facebook, they ask you specific questions before they approve you. And one of the last questions they asked on Realm was if you are younger than 18, and if you say yes, you're suggested to not even mention your age.
Oh,
So you can be as young as 12 years old on Realm, and they track what you search. They have your cookies so they know what you're looking up.
And it
So
says on there that they track what you search and they track your location.
so your 12-year-old is being monitored by other adults.
ah,
And this is the biggest Christian media outlet that will hit. Um, And the other thing I want to address before questions
No, go ahead.
is, um, this is going to be a problem for the United States and for homeschoolers. And uh, if there's a parent out there who has a child on Rome right now, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you that are going to hear this, um, don't take my word for it. There are several people right now who are terrified of its leadership. Mr. Scott Miner, who runs a Christian, if I will, writing network, Facebook, who has not written a book himself and only runs it for the money. That is who is running our Christian media for fiction, for books, for TV, for movies. That is our future for Christian video games. I'm looking at you, Angel Studios. Um, the name of the person that I'm talking about on there, by the way, parents, is VAUGH space OHLMAN. And you can just type that in, and then Quivering, that comes right up with several documentaries on this guy. Um, and then my ex-captor, Brian Davis. Um, an update on that too.
Yeah.
Um, I have had contact with him. Unfortunately, he did choose to put it upon himself to
Mm-hmm.
try to contact me, and um, I have put it to rest and said, "You did what you did." Um, I have no hate, I have no discontent, and I have no anger towards him. I pray for him. Um, And I think God holds him responsible for the events that have taken place. But I can't change the past. I can only change the future. I understand that he's in poor health. And I myself actually was in poor health, and still am because of COVID. Um, and I I pray for him, but I don't forget him. And I think I speak for a lot of survivors from people like this, um, learning that journey of forgiving and not forgetting. If your parents, if you're going to look these people up that I mentioned, uh, just be aware of what these people are doing to children, and that is human trafficking. It is to my knowledge at this time that Mr. Davis has stopped trafficking, um, because of this podcast, parents. Um, Apparently, this podcast reached so many parents that his books were boycotted in a lot of places,
Wow.
primarily Ohio.
Yeah.
And I want to congratulate our listeners on that because people started to wake up. Um, so I hope someone heeds the warning. The name of the website that I'm talking about is Realm Makers, like it sounds. Um, and Scott Miner is the leader of that group. Um, the other thing I also wanted to update with that group, a man named Wayne Thomas Batson, who I've mentioned before in the past. I wanted to correct one thing because people have been saying things about me and him. Um, I have nothing negative to say about that person, nor have I. And there is no evidence to suggest at the moment that he is involved in this. Um, but other people are not innocent in this group. I also wanted to say that if you are a member of Realm, um, it does not mean that all the thousands of users are human traffickers. It means that two of its leaders might be. And then there are predators like Von Omen and a few others that are members and are leeching on to prey on children on this app.
Yeah, it's like they're using the analytics and they're sharing that kind of with the operatives, we'll call it, and those are some of the people that are preying on. Uh, that's just incredible, Amanda. What you said about that one of the last questions to when you're joining about the age. That just is that's incredible. We're definitely going to obviously get this show out, and we want as many people to hear it, watch it, share it, and I had no idea that about the impact of boycotting. That really just shows the power of what you're doing, and you're using your voice. You're sharing exactly what's happening, what has happened, in the hopes to not only stop individuals that are impacted you, but other people. Even if it's just one person that doesn't go down that path, that's one person that's been helped and saved. And we obviously have bigger goals. We want to help everybody so that this doesn't occur. Would you say, David, that this should be shut down? Is that a message we should be sharing? Or
I don't think so.
okay,
I think it needs new leadership because if you shut it down, you make a mistake of killing all Christian content.
okay, that's right.
And in a world of woke philosophy and politics aside, uh, confusing morals, there is an appropriate place for Christian fiction to serve
Yeah.
and to save lives. And, by all means, it has saved lives. But um, what I can say from what I know of the story,
Mm-hmm.
um, leadership took a role here where Mr. Miner, I think he saw an opportunity of a market that is not known about.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, no one's going to look for predators in a Christian market,
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
a wolf in sheep's clothing, and then we can go to homeschool conventions and we can go to, you know, get kids and we can go to their churches and we can plant ourselves and install fear and persecution if you go against us, which is exactly what happened.
They took advantage of our son writing his own book.
Yep, they pulled it.
Oh.
That was punishment. Mr. Miner said basically retribution for me going against Brian Davis.
Warning other authors.
And it should be noted that parents who are listening,
Mm-hmm.
just because these people are Christian famous millionaire authors, and I mean millionaire authors, it does not give them a special right to act as guardian. It does not give them a special right to have access to your children behind the scenes.
Yes.
So I still take my stance, and I think a lot of people on Realm who are going to hear this,
Yeah.
but also a lot of people that know I'm here
Mm-hmm.
from Realm, that there needs to be leadership because I speak for the parents right now that have contacted me. Their children are in danger and they are terrified because when you sign up for this and they promise you the world, they promise you a career, and you're, for example, a 15-year-old girl or boy writer, and you're working with these famous multimillionaire authors, some Christian, some not, by the way, parents, not just Christian authors on here. We're talking Disney, we're talking Fox, we're talking ABC. There's some major authors on here. And when you create that atmosphere, it's exciting. And, who wouldn't want to join, right? As
Right.
a teen or a preteen.
Talk to their favorite author.
Right. But then that relationship is abused. And what we're seeing here is a lot of these authors, the big time authors, are taking advantage. A little charge for money here, a little charge for money there. Hey, you want to be a friend? Hey, what do you look like? Hey, what size do you wear? We see this disease slowly engulf what was meant to be good. So to answer your question, if it should be shut down, absolutely not.
Good. Yeah. I,
Um,
I think that's key to share that because yeah we don't want to do harm
no, we
to the
want to spread
yeah.
awareness, particularly to its leadership, and say, listen, Mr. Scott Miner, um, I'm not the first one you've done this to,
Hmm.
where not only you kicked me off the writing world of Christian fiction, um, but you also threatened my son, you threatened my wife, you threatened other people I've worked with,
Oh,
and he made good on those threats too.
oh,
And that's called a bully.
yeah.
More importantly, a desperate bully who has something to hide. Uh,
All he wanted to do was bring awareness
all
that
I
he
wanted
was
to
fucking
do,
children.
yeah, all I
Yeah.
wanted to do was bring awareness. And I didn't say anything else. All I said was, listen,
Hmm.
this man talks to children. I think it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
There are 8-year-olds on here, there are 9-year-olds on here, and he is talking to children about some things that should not be talked about.
All right.
And he said,
We mentioned the harvest interview. I think we spoke about that in the last interview.
Mhm.
yes.
If you look up Brian Davis harvest interview, he admits to talking to minor children behind their parents' back about pornography and cutting. And
Scott Miner justified it by
Oh,
saying that's God's work.
he was doing God's work and justified why it was okay for a man to do that.
So, he's doing the devil's work
yeah.
and it needs to be exposed. Publishers like to name one, Tinsdale, you know who Tinsdale is?
Yeah.
Thomas Nelson. These giants are backing Realm. This is where your Bibles come from, parents.
Oh,
And if this isn't stopped, if people don't hear this, um, by July, you are going to hear it too late. You are going to hear Scott Miner's name on your TV. It's a giant uh, movement and giant convention, especially with our politics in the White House.
yeah.
They plan to have a place in the White House because of controlling that Christian media outlet. So let me put into perspective reality.
Yeah.
Um, right now, there's a deal that one of my dear friends got threatened by that Scott Miner would take ownership of the biggest Christian video game company, and Realm will control those video games. Realm will control that content. Um, Movies and TV shows. I'm looking at Angel Studios. I'm looking at Amazon, I'm looking at Netflix and Fox. They will control those Christian outlets. Why they want a position in the White House and politics? Because they're conservative and they're going to abuse how naive some Amish, or should we say, more uh, sheltered Christians out there have been, and they're going to abuse that integrity and take advantage and manipulate the media, which is what they're doing now.
Right.
So July 18th to the 20th is when Realm Makers Conference is going to be. These people are going to be there.
Okay.
Um, I urge parents, if you are going, to keep a lock on your children at all times. These authors are predators. Not all of them, but a majority of them, probably like maybe what, 40% of the professional authors, should we say,
Yeah.
are the predators.
Wow.
And the rest are just users, kids, and
The
people that
rest
want to
of
be
people,
normal authors.
they don't know that this is even going on.
Yeah, it's all in the background. Yeah, they don't even know.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are some good authors that do know what's going on right now, that have stood in the shadows, because their careers will forever be tarnished. Um, I spoke with two of them and they told me to do this because this is going to get to a level where it can't be stopped.
Yeah.
And human trafficking, in Scott Minor's words, it's not a crime.
They're pushing the good leaders out so the bad can take over.
Right.
Oh
So
man.
it needs to be addressed. It
Yeah.
needs to be talked about. And this isn't to condemn
Mm-hmm.
one author over the other. This isn't to condemn the network. This is to condemn the actions of its leadership.
Yes.
Um, and Scott Minor and his wife Becky Minor, for that matter, have failed children, and that's what I want
Not
to.
even children, but young adults
Young
as well.
adults too, yeah.
Yeah.
And
We got like 30 seconds, just as an FYI.
yeah, so that's what I want the takeaway to be from this.
Thank, thank you for sharing this, and I plan on doing a couple of TikTok videos on this before this episode hits next month. But thank you for joining us. We'll definitely keep in touch and share when the episode comes out. And hope you stay safe, and we'll talk soon.
Oh, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, absolutely. And thanks for watching, our viewers, our listeners here in Northeast Ohio, across the state of Ohio, and across the United States, and 51 countries and 520 cities that we're reaching. This is important, impactful work and content we're sharing. So please take this conversation very, very seriously when David's speaking, because this is happening, and we want to help and save as many people as possible and steer them away and have that leadership change happen. And we'll definitely let we'll tag the government, the White House, and in that to make sure that they're at least aware of that. So until next time, I'm Justin Allen Hayes, founder and executive director of Voices for Voices. And thank you for joining us. Please be a voice for you or somebody in need.